Emerging from the damp, sulfur-tinged marshes of northern New Jersey, a colossal, multicolored structure stands beside Turnpike Interchange 16. Long before it welcomed a single shopper, this multi-billion-dollar complex became a monument to financial hubris. It was compelled to sit empty for nearly 2 decades, an architectural puzzle wrapped in debt, visible to tens of thousands of daily commuters who wondered how a building could consume so much money while remaining entirely lifeless. In 2003, state planners envisioned Meadowlands' Xanadu as an unprecedented entertainment mecca. Designed to combine high-end retail with extreme sports, the original blueprints called for an indoor ski slope, a Pepsi-sponsored Ferris wheel, and vibrant patchwork exterior paneling. It was meant to revolutionize brick-and-mortar commerce, transforming a swampy parcel of public land into a lucrative cash generator that would redefine suburban consumer culture. Initial cost estimates quickly ballooned from $1.3 billion to well over $2 billion as groundbreaking began under the Mills Corporation. To finance the ambitious sprawl, complex debt instruments were layered on top of private equity, backed by state subsidies. The project relied heavily on projected retail rent yields that assumed uninterrupted consumer spending and continuous economic expansion, setting up an exceedingly fragile financial structure while pouring money into raw infrastructure. By 2006, the building's exterior was largely completed, clad in a mosaic of orange, turquoise, and off-white aluminum panels that drew swift public ridicule. Designated by critics as the ugliest building in New Jersey, the towering structure dominated the low-lying horizon. Yet beneath that controversial facade lay millions of square feet of raw steel frames, unpoured concrete floors, and frozen construction zones, waiting for funds that were rapidly drying up. The 2008 financial crisis struck the development like a tidal wave. Lenders collapsed, construction halted abruptly, and the original developer dissolved into bankruptcy. The half-finished shell of Xanadu was left stranded in the marsh, surrounded by rusting cranes and padlocked security gates. As credit markets seized globally, the project transformed overnight from a speculative trophy into a massive toxic asset that no financial institution wanted on its balance sheet. This was the precise moment where economic logic surrendered to the psychology of the sunk cost fallacy. Having already poured hundreds of millions of dollars of public and private capital into the mud, stakeholders refused to abandon the structure. Rational analysis demanded demolition or radical downsizing, yet politicians and lenders convinced themselves that only further investment could salvage their past expenditures, trapping future leadership in an escalating financial vortex. New Jersey state governors, desperate to avoid acknowledging a monumental public failure, kept searching for saviors. Public authorities restructured bond agreements, granted tax incentives, and shielded the project from total liquidation. Millions in state infrastructure funds were poured into highway ramps and transit connections designed solely to service a ghost mall, ensuring that taxpayers remained unwittingly tied to the fate of an unopened complex. Colony Capital stepped in next, trying and failing to revive the stalled project before handing the reins to the 555 Group in 2011. 555, famous for creating the Mall of America, promised to completely reimagine the site as the American Dream Meadowlands. They scrapped the patchwork facade, added an indoor Nickelodeon Universe theme park and DreamWorks water park, and pitched a vision so massive it eclipsed the original design. To fund this second wave of construction, 555 assembled a breathtakingly dangerous financing package. They secured over $2.8 billion in loans and municipal bonds, pledging their own crown jewel assets as collateral. In a desperate bid to convince lenders, the owners put up mortgage rights to their lucrative West Edmonton Mall and Mall of America properties, staking their entire retail empire on a swamp-bound mega mall. Stepping into the interior of the American Dream Meadowlands during its construction years revealed an uncanny, cavernous abyss. Sound echoed across vast corridors designed for thousands of shoppers, yet occupied only by lone security guards and maintenance crews. Millions of gallons of water sat stagnant in undrained wave pools, while temperature-controlled indoor ski slopes consumed vast amounts of electricity just to maintain snow indoors amidst empty, unleased storefronts. While construction dragged through its second decade, the broader landscape of retail real estate was undergoing a permanent structural decline. E-commerce began devouring traditional mall foot traffic, leading to widespread tenant bankruptcies and store closures across the nation. The fundamental premise of American Dream, that consumers would drive for hours to shop in person, was dissolving, yet the multi-decade development pushed forward on momentum fueled entirely by debt service obligations. When the American Dream Meadowlands finally opened its doors in late 2019, it did so in surreal, piecemeal stages. The theme park and ice rink opened first, while the vast majority of retail spaces remained walled off by colorful plywood barriers. Visitors walked through pristine, glittering marble corridors flanked by rows of empty, locked doors, experiencing a surreal hybrid of an operational amusement park inside a silent, ghostly shopping mall. Just 5 months after its partial debut, the COVID-19 pandemic forced a complete shutdown of the entire complex in March 2020. The brand-new indoor ski slope went dark. The water park was drained, and revenue plummeted to absolute zero. For a project already burdened by billions in debt and razor-thin operating margins, this forced closure crippled cash flow at the exact moment the debt service payments were scheduled to escalate. The inevitable financial reckoning followed rapidly. 555 defaulted on its commercial loans, triggering cross-default clauses that allowed lenders to seize a 45% equity stake in both the Mall of America and West Edmonton Mall. The gambit had backfired catastrophically. The endless capital poured into the Meadowlands had stripped away the financial insulation of the world's most successful retail operations, fulfilling the dark prophecy of the sunk cost fallacy. The financial ripple effects extended far beyond corporate balance sheets into the surrounding local communities. Bondholders holding municipal debt issued by the East Rutherford Borough and regional authorities saw reserve funds drained to make interest payments. Municipal services, emergency response teams, and local taxpayers faced continuous uncertainty as the complex repeatedly requested tax payment deferrals and renegotiated payments in lieu of taxes to survive operational shortfalls. Today, the American Dream Meadowlands exists as a bizarre living paradox of modern commercial real estate. Millions of visitors flock to its indoor ski hill, aquatic attractions, and luxury retail wing annually, generating hundreds of millions in revenue. Yet beneath this bustling surface, the revenue produced remains insufficient to cover the staggering interest payments on its total structural debt, exceeding $5 billion, forcing ongoing restructuring negotiations with bondholders and creditors. The trajectory of this development highlights a psychological trap that extends deep into human ambition. When architects, developers, and politicians invest decades of effort into a grand monument, acknowledging defeat becomes far more painful than absorbing financial loss. The project becomes too big to fail, not because it is essential to society, but because the collective ego of its creators cannot endure the admission that the original vision was flawed. In the broader story of modern real estate development, the Meadowlands complex serves as a stark warning against speculative, debt-fueled megaliths. It demonstrates what happens when construction disconnects from organic market demand and becomes driven by financial engineering, tax incentives, and irreversible momentum. The result is an architectural monument that defies standard market forces, sustained only by the sheer impossibility of unraveling its own financial web. Standing beside the busy turnpike today, looking up at the sprawling, polished exterior of the American Dream Meadowlands, one sees more than a mall or an amusement park. It is a 3 million square foot testament to how billions of dollars can be consumed by the simple inability to walk away. The structure remains standing, fully operational, yet perpetually burdened by its past, forever reminding us that some real estate dreams are built on foundations of unstoppable financial inertia.